I still remember swapping game discs with friends in school. We would pass around physical discs of Need for Speed, Most Wanted, and Max Payne 2. You would copy the files over to your machine. Then you would sit there and play for hours. Back then, I had a dual core computer with a 250 gigabyte hard drive. It had a cheap GT 610 graphics card. That card struggled to run almost everything. The frame rates were low, the settings were turned all the way down. Yet every single one of those games was fun. They had character, they had soul. More importantly, a 4 gigabyte game gave you a complete story, great music, and hours of memorable gameplay. Today, games casually demand 150 to 200 gigabytes. It has gotten completely out of control. Modern studios treat our drives like free dumping grounds for uncompressed files. Take Modern Warfare 2019. I genuinely love that game. The gunplay is heavy, the sound design is great, and the movement feels grounded. Yet, keeping that single game installed eats up roughly 160 gigabytes. If you want to jump into a few matches after work, you have to give up a massive chunk of storage for one shooter. Then look at racing games like Automobilista 2. It is one of the best driving experiences on PC. That alone takes around 120 gigabytes. Add Microsoft Flight Simulator into the mix, and you lose another 170 gigabytes. Just between those three games, you have already burned through almost half a terabyte. I'm also really looking forward to Crimson Desert. The combat looks fluid and the world looks huge. Then you check the system requirements. It asks for another 150 gigabytes. Look at Stalker 2 as well. That game demands around 160 gigabytes just to step into the zone. I get that massive open world games need space. Nobody expects a detailed open world to be tiny. However, a huge portion of this file bloat has nothing to do with real gameplay. It is just uncompressed assets and lazy optimization. Studios force everyone to download full 4K and 8K texture packs. They make you download them even if you play on a normal monitor. They leave raw audio files in 10 different languages sitting in your game folder. Instead of building clean packages, they ship monolithic files. That is why a small patch that fixes 2 bugs makes you re-download 50 gigabytes of data. This brings me to the worst part of modern PC gaming. That is storage management. Like many people, my setup is practical. I have a 1 terabyte SSD for my operating system and main games. I also have a slower 2 terabyte hard drive for long-term storage. In a reasonable world, you would keep your active games on the SSD. You would stash older single-player games on the hard drive. Modern games do not let you do that anymore. Almost every new release puts a solid-state drive as a strict requirement. If you try to run these games off a mechanical drive, the game stutters. Textures fail to stream in, audio cuts out, and loading screens take forever. That means I cannot keep all my favorite games installed on my SSD at the same time. Every weekend turns into a game of digital Tetris. If I want to install Crimson Desert or Stalker 2, I have to delete Modern Warfare 2019 or Automobilista 2. Then, when I want to play multiplayer next week, I have to spend 2 hours downloading 160 gigabytes all over again. In the past, people had a simple answer. They told you to just buy another 2 terabyte drive for cheap. That advice does not work today. The pricing of SSDs has become ridiculous. Flash memory shortages and data center demand have pushed storage prices way up. Buying a fast 2 terabyte drive is not a casual purchase anymore. It has reached a point where even generic cheap knockoff SSDs on Temu cost as much as an entire Android phone. Paying that much extra money just to store 3 games makes zero sense. When storage costs this much, game bloat stops being a minor issue. It turns into a direct financial penalty on the player. Publishers are basically adding a hidden hardware tax to their $70 games. They expect us to spend money on extra drives because their teams will not compress files. We know it does not have to be this way because good examples exist. Look at The Witcher 3. The entire game, along with 2 massive expansions, sits at around 85 gigabytes. That game has hundreds of hours of quests, voice dialogue, cutscenes, and a huge world. It has more actual content than 5 Call of Duty games combined. Yet it takes up half the disk space. Look at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That game has a detailed open world, lively towns, deep systems, and strong visuals. Yet the install size sits at around 85 to 100 gigabytes. The developers took the time to optimize their assets. They built efficient streaming systems so the world runs well without destroying your SSD. When you see games like that, the corporate excuses fall apart. There is also a cynical reason why big publishers let their games get this bloated. They do not mind if a game takes 200 gigabytes of your drive. If their game takes up all your fast storage, you cannot install anything else. It traps you in their ecosystem. It makes their game a permanent squatter on your drive. So you keep playing their battle passes because reinstalling another game takes too long. We need to push back against this sloppy engineering. Compression used to be a core part of making games. Programmers worked hard to fit big worlds and good audio into small file sizes. Today, studios just rely on brute force. They assume your internet is super fast. They assume your hard drive space is free. Neither of those things is true. If an RPG studio can deliver a massive story in under 90 gigabytes, big shooters have no excuse. Shooters have small arenas, repeated assets, and straightforward mechanics. There is zero technical justification for a multiplayer title to occupy 200 gigabytes. We need optional texture downloads back. If someone plays at 1080p, do not force 80 gigabytes of 4K textures into their install folder. Give players the choice to download high-resolution assets separately. Single-player campaigns, co-op modes, and multiplayer should be completely modular. We need optional language packs as well. If I only play a game in English, I should not have 10 other uncompressed voice tracks taking up space on my SSD. Let players select their preferred language during the initial setup. That simple change alone would save tens of gigabytes per title. Most importantly, we need studios to bring back basic file compression. Modern processors have plenty of cores to decompress assets on the fly, relying entirely on raw, uncompressed files is pure developer laziness. It offloads the work from their build pipelines directly onto our hardware budgets. Think about the time cost as well. When you get off work after a long day, you want to sit down and relax. You do not want to stare at a progress bar for 2 hours because a basic seasonal patch is 60 gigabytes. You do not want to spend your limited free time uninstalling 3 games just to make room for one update. As consumers, we have to stop accepting this as the standard. Do not reward publishers who disrespect your hard drive. If a game demands half your SSD for a few basic modes, think twice before handing over your money. Go back and revisit older titles that respected efficiency. Play the classics that delivered incredible atmosphere without demanding a dedicated storage upgrade. Support the developers who take pride in clean optimization and tight file sizes. Your storage belongs to you. It is hardware you paid for with your own hard-earned money. Stop buying expensive drives just to make room for sloppy code. It is time for developers to clean up their games, respect our systems, and stop holding our SSDs hostage.